Hello, my lovely book besties. Thank you so much for being here. As you can see from the title, we are going to discuss all of the books that I read in July. I do apologize if you can hear the lawnmower going. We are just humans on the other side of this screen living our lives, and if this is when my kids and my dogs and everyone is happy and I can take a few minutes to record, I have to take it, even if the neighbor decides that this is also the moment they want to take to mow their grass. So I apologize if you can hear that. Little tip, if you have headphones on, you can usually pick up background noise more than if you just listen through your device and like your screen. You're welcome for that tip. I am doing this wrap up a little bit differently because I need different and I need to mix things up and keep things fresh and exciting, or the creator in me just feels a little bored. I thought it would be really fun to take the books that I read in July and see if I agree with Goodreads. I might read like a 5-star and a 1-star review and then just check the overall rating and see if I think Goodreads is wrong or if they're right. I just thought that would be such a fun way to wrap up my reading. Obviously, every single one of us, including me, is entitled to my opinion about these books. I always just want to preface videos where I'm doing reviews with the fact that like this is just my opinion. So I read a total of 8 books and a total of 3,178 pages. I try to stick to my TBRs because for everyone who watches those videos and then you get really excited or interested to know what I think of the books that you're seeing in those videos, I do this for you guys, but there inevitably is always like 1 or 2 that I just did not get to. I did not get around to rereading Beach Read. We already know that I loved this one though, so it wasn't really one that anyone is waiting to see if I enjoy. I just wanted to reread it because I loved it, but there is a special edition of this book coming out in October. It is so beautiful and I just kind of decided that I'd rather read when I get this edition. And then I also did not end up reading The Score by Elle Kennedy. I really am very excited to read this book. It is the 3rd book in the Off-Campus series, but little fun fact about me, if you've been here a bit, you already know I'm willing to read books that have smut in them, but it's not my favorite and I definitely get burnt out from it. So after reading several other books this month that had some pretty heavy, intimate scenes in them, by the time this was like the only book left on my TBR, I just knew that I wouldn't enjoy it as much because I literally needed a break from the open door stuff. And then one book that was on my TBR that I am halfway through, I just have run out of time, and that is The Grace Year. This is one that so many of you commented and said, I loved that book. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. I am exactly halfway through at 200 pages, and so far, I'm not gonna lie guys, this book is weird. And I do not think that I'm into weird books, but it's one that I don't want to DNF. I do want to like push through and finish. So I'm currently listening to it on audio and kind of tandem reading physically. So I'm not going to review this one either, but just know that I am still reading it. So eventually a review will come, and it is a little strange. Okay, the rest of the books that I read are in no particular order. Let's see my thoughts compared to Goodreads. I read Summer Romance. If you watched my reading vlog for the month of July, I already talked about this book in that video. You already know that I rated this one like 4.5 stars. I even think after sitting on it for a little while, I'm bumping it up to like 4.75 stars. It's really resonated with me. This book is fantastic. It evaluates grief and divorce and single motherhood and finding love and just so many human things. That is entirely my kind of book. I love a book that puts me in reality, you know, and doesn't sugarcoat life, but does of course give you like a hope-filled message. And this book did not disappoint. Like, I tabbed it, I cried, I laughed, I got frustrated, it gave me every feeling. So let's go see what Goodreads has to say about it. I wrote Summer Tomance and I can't find the book. You know they've got to be able to update their search engine. So right now, Summer Romance is sitting with a Goodreads average of 4.14. I think that's fair. I do think that it deserves to be a little bit higher than that. Let's see what like a 1-star 1-star review says. Time of death, page 167. Painfully boring. Oh my gosh. I didn't think this was boring at all. This one's not wrong. It says DNF at page 216. He skateboards and she constantly talks to her dead mom. Need I say more? You're not wrong, but it worked. I did see another review was like, he's 30 years old and a skateboarder. Well, go him. Let's see like a 5-star review. So actually Destiny Sidwell rated this 5 stars. She's the reason I picked this up. She wrote a really long review, but at the bottom she says, if you take one thing away from this, please let it be to pick this book up. Again, if you don't like it, lie to me or keep it to yourself. Someone else said, a heartfelt romance that took me by surprise. I agree with that completely. Next up is Summer Romance by Courtney Walsh. This book was my only 5-star of July. I had some books that are really close to 5 stars, but this one was the only one that actually achieved it. Partly because I think that it gave me a whole vibe because I read this on my girls' trip with several of my best friends and we were buddy reading this together and had like an in-person little book club for it. There's a lot of like nostalgia and happy feelings that I'm now going to forever correlate with this book. This is just simply a story that made me think a lot about the things we say yes to in life. I loved the character development that they were going through. It's like Devil Wears Prada meets Yes Day. I'm honestly nervous to see the reviews for this one. Oh wow, this one is also sitting at a 4.14 star. I'm just happy to see it over 4 stars. Okay, I'm nervous. They DNF'd the book. I found both of the main characters pretty unlikable and the story predictable. Everything about the way these women told the story made me roll my eyes. It's pretty shallow and sickly sweet. Could have been a lot better. Not my thing. I do understand what she's saying. I just disagree and I think that she should have finished the book. Courtney Walsh writes sweet stories. There was even a moment I said to my friend, because she finished before I did, that I was like, is this like not gonna have a happy ending? It better not end the way I think it's going to end. She reminded me, she's like, it's Courtney Walsh. It always has a happy ending. So if that's not what you're looking for, like if you're looking for drama and honestly real life, this isn't it. This is a like make you feel good, sweet story. So the person's not wrong, but unfortunately I think it was just the wrong book for them. Okay, 5 stars. Let's go happier here. Aw, this is a sweet review. Overall rating 6 out of 5. 6 stars. This is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. It falls into the category of women's fiction. This is not a romance, but the romance is so sweet. It's going to challenge you to be bold, to take risks, and to simply say yes to the things you're afraid of. Yes, exactly. Next is Lovely War. I rated it 4.75 stars. It was so stinking close to 5 stars, but if I tell you why I didn't give it 5 stars, it's going to spoil the book, so I'm gonna withhold on that. But epic love story, so beautiful, amazing historical fiction that touched on some parts in history I never even heard of or knew about. The dual love stories going on during war and how love conquers all, even in the midst of war, was just done so well in this book. If you are a historical fiction or just epic love story type of a fan, you need to read this book. Let's see how Goodreads rates this one. Alright, Goodreads has it at a 4.23, so it is rated higher than the other books. I think that's fair. I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't like this book. Probably not everyone is a fan of historical fiction and stuff. Let's see like what the 1 stars are saying. DNF at 40%, snooze fest. I couldn't do it. This one says, I just ... really didn't enjoy this. The characters were bland, the storyline rather uninteresting, and I felt as though it could have been shorter. She had a huge story to write. This person didn't even rate the book, but they wrote, the only tears I cried were a product of boredom. That is so sad. Someone wrote 5 lovely stars for the most beautiful book to exist. It is very beloved, but I find that this book, you either love it and think that it is lovely, or you're bored and you DNF it. So shoot your shot and let me know how you like it. Alright, next is my personal least favorite of the entire month. I don't even want to talk about this book, but I always keep it real and transparent with you guys. And that was Bookshop by the Sea by Denise Hunter. This book. It was gifted to me, which automatically out the gate makes me feel awful when I dislike a book that is gifted to me. And this author has been recommended to me so many times, so I'm not gonna give up on the author quite yet. I do have another one of her books on my shelf. Also though, if you remember from my July TBR, this was a Nana recommendation. My Nana is adorable, and she is like your typical love type of a Nana. But she definitely doesn't like as much drama in her books as I prefer. Knowing that, I get why my Nana enjoyed this one, although even she said it wasn't like her favorite. I ended up reading this with 2 other friends, so we were doing like a buddy read, and none of us liked it. One of us DNF'd it, and the other 2 of us gave it, I think, like 2.5 stars. It just was boring. I could not care, no matter how hard I tried, about these characters. And I don't know why. It's kind of like a second chance romance where like he broke her heart, and then she's in town for a wedding and to build a bookshop. A bad storm comes, so he kind of gets stranded there too. And then of course they're revisiting feelings and seeing if they can mend what's been broken. The highlight of this book for me was the dog and the bookshop. I do enjoy a book that talks about someone starting a bookstore because I find those details to be so interesting and so beautiful. I would love to do that one day, but the characters and their outcome and their love, I can't believe it, but I did not care because I'm pretty darn easy to please when it comes to love stories, and I root for everyone. That is saying a lot that I felt that way about this book. So let's see what Goodreads has to say. Okay, on Goodreads, it's rated a 3.82. I think that's being generous. I'm honestly very surprised that it's almost 4 stars on Goodreads. I'm gonna start with a 5-star review this time because I'm very curious to see like what someone would say that gave this 5 stars. One person wrote, "Such a good book, a new author to me, but I will definitely be reading more of her books. Had me hooked from the first chapter to the last. Well done." I'd be very curious to go see like what other books that person enjoys. Another person gave this 5 stars and said that the novel was captivating, unforgettable, and absolutely delightful, with a romance that curls your toes, expertly timed tension, and a story about forgiveness, belonging, and acceptance. I found myself identifying with the heroine on so many levels. There you have it. If you ever associate with a character, I think that that definitely like elevates a book for a person. That alone in that person's review tells me why they love this book so much, because they saw themselves in it, so that makes complete sense to me. Let's go to the 1 stars though. Someone wrote, "May I have some wine and crackers with this cheese?" It is very cheesy. So I don't recommend this one. I am sorry to say, if you are a big Denise Hunter fan, don't worry, I'm not gonna give up. I'm just gonna like call this one a fluke and hope for better next time. Okay, next, Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I gave Powerless 5 stars. Like, it was a top book of the year for me last year. So this is one of the most highly anticipated books I had for this year. And I am so sad to say that it honestly disappointed me. Don't get me wrong, it was good, but disappointing, if that makes sense. I am 100% here for Pei and Kai. They are endgame. They are amazing. Their tension, the way she writes their romance is so bingeable and so good, and I just want to literally devour it. I could read 1,000 pages of Pei and Kai, but the plot itself for this one was annoyingly repetitive. I feel like we got nowhere. It started out where I was very interested in the plot, but then it just felt like the same issue and capture and release over and over again. And the ending, I think, was supposed to be this like shocking end, and I totally saw it coming, so that kind of disappointed me. I am landing at like 3 stars for this book, maybe 3.5 if I'm being generous, just because I love Pei and Kai so much. I'm nervous about this, but let's go check Goodreads for this one. Wow, it's rated 4.14 stars. Why is that like the magic number? Like literally 3 out of these 6 books were 4.14. I think that's being generous for this book. I hope that some of you watching have absolutely loved this, because I love that for you. This 5-star review says, "Excuse me? You said what? Who do I send my therapy bills to? Because after that ending, I need it." They were shocked by the ending, obviously, and because I wasn't, maybe that affected me. Another person wrote, quite simply, speechless. Again, I'm assuming the ending shocked them. This specific 5-star review I do understand, because it's basically a 5-star review for Kai. They said, "How did I like this better than book 1? How? How? I loved it, devoured it, finished it in one sitting. I just can't handle the banter that Lauren Roberts blesses us with. Like, the way this woman has Kai speaking has me melting. That man is smooth. Yes, he is. I agree. 5 stars for Kai. 10 stars for Kai. Take all the stars for Kai. But you gotta admit, if you read this one, the plot wasn't there. Okay, let me check a 1-star review. That's harsh. I have no words to describe how stupid that ending is and how excruciatingly boring this entire book was. I would have had way more fun watching paint dry for 48 hours straight. These 1 stars, they're harsh. People who hated this book, like, strongly hated this. If you love this book, avoid the 1-star reviews because they're going to upset you highly. Again, I'm sorry if you loved this. I didn't hate it. Do not put me in that category. I didn't hate it. But I will die on the hill that Powerless was way better, and I really do hope for better again with the 3rd book. Alright, next is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I actually read 2 Elsie Silvers this month, which is what got me a little burnt out on the smut because, guys, her open door scenes are next level. But I loved this book. Like, this one was 4.5 stars for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You have this millionaire music producer that doesn't really want to be in the limelight, and a 12-year-old girl shows up on his doorstep claiming that he's her dad, and the way he just like loved her and took her in was so good. And then his childhood best friend's sister has also been like his lifelong crush. She moves back to town as well, and so our man Ford is just the dude. The way he loves and cares for his girls, it's just so good. Again, though, it is quite open door after the halfway point, so do not bother with this book if you want to avoid all open door scenes. On Goodreads, this one is rated 4.12. I'm stuck between like thinking that's completely fair but also feeling like it does deserve a little bit more love than that. Now I'm so curious like what the 1-star reviews are. One person wrote, "Wild love, this might not be, but a wild flop, it sure was." These reviews are really long and I'm not gonna bore you with reading them all. The primary thing people are complaining about is that they didn't feel the chemistry, which I'm completely shocked by that because I felt like their chemistry was through the roof. You know what it might be though? The way that they treat each other, they kind of are jerks to each other and like super sarcastic because that's how they like grew up coping with their feelings and like throwing each other off. I mean, they're like pushing each other in the lake. I think that maybe that deters some people to think like a guy shouldn't treat a girl that way, and she is straight up mean to him too. But as a very sarcastic person, I loved it and was like totally here for it, and it felt very cute to me. But now I guess I could see that like if you wouldn't want that type of vibe, like if you're here only for like the sweet loving romance, this isn't it. Perhaps then you would see like their love differently. All right, let's read a 5-star. See, Destiny said, "Ford, the man that you are. My favorite Elsie Silver book ever." Here's a good review. "This book is remarkable from start to finish, amazing. The banter, the hate and love, back and forth arguing, Rosalie being such a smart aleck, and Cora is the daughter, who I feel like was such a great character as well. I don't know how Elsie Silver legit never misses, but here we are. Wild Love will forever have a special place in my heart." I completely agree with that review. The only reason this wasn't 5 stars for me was because of the open door scenes. That naturally for me just knocks it down when it's over the top and overdone, in my opinion. But otherwise, I really do think that this book was phenomenal. Which leads me into the other Elsie Silver that I read is Heartless. This is book 2 in the Chestnut Springs series, and out the gate I instantly was like, this couple is going to be my favorite. Specifically the lead girl Willa, I loved her so much. She's also that very sarcastic, witty, strong type of female. However, as the book progressed and as their love story unfolded, I liked it less and less, which was so deeply disappointing. I knew being Elsie Silver, this was gonna have smut and open door scenes. Again, I do think that she goes a little over the top, but because I loved the idea of this book where it's a single dad and he hires her to be a nanny for the summer, I thought that I would love this book so much more than I did. Their story was so physically lust driven. It wasn't until the end that I was like, oh, you actually like each other personality. Any indications of liking each other for like the person they are felt very on the back burner, and it was heavily a love story driven by physical attraction. And I get it, that happens. I personally just need some mix of the sweet romance and love. I would say it was like 3 stars, 3.5. So let me see what Goodreads rates this one. Wow, this one's rated 4.39. Out of all of the books that I've talked about, this is the highest rated. 4.39, guys? You're smut girlies. That is y'all's reviews. I personally think that that is higher than it deserves. This 5-star review says, obsessed with this book and Cade and Willa. We've got so many great tropes. Single parents, small town, grumpy sunshine, plus cowboys, and a gorgeous ranch setting. 100%. I really agree with that. That is what I've been loving about the Chestnut Springs series, is the setting and just the overall tropes and family dynamic and cowboys. All of that is why I'm going to continue reading this series. Here's a 1-star to put it in perspective. The word panties is probably mentioned on every page at least 2 times. I hate the panties talk. There were little hints of his thoughtfulness, like leaving her notes and things like that. You got like glimpses of him being thoughtful, but it just wasn't enough to carry the book. I'm gonna continue the series. I apparently am a crazy person. I need to know how the rest of these characters' love stories develop and turn out. If you don't like Open Door, again, Elsie Silver's not for you. I'm just letting you know. Trust me, okay? And the last book is Same Time Next Summer. This is also by Annabel Monaghan, who wrote Summer Romance that I already talked about. This one actually came out before Summer Romance. I just so happened to actually accidentally read them both in the same month. I really enjoyed this one. I think I'd give it 4 stars. I liked Summer Romance better from her. This was a really cute second chance romance. She's engaged and goes back home to like tour a wedding venue and visit the family and stuff. Sees her ex there, and you know, they start like building a friendship again. She very clearly never got over him, and her current fiance is definitely like a safe choice kind of a dude, and just like making a bunch of safe life choices because of the heartbreak she endured from her true love. If you're looking for something to like quickly read here in August before summer's over, I recommend both of this author's summer books. And let's see what y'all on Goodreads think of this one. It's at 3.76. I think it deserves more than that. One person literally just wrote no. Guys, I still can't get over how many like really long reviews y'all write. This person said if I could give it 0 stars, I would. It sounds like a chemistry issue that a lot of people were having. I just did not feel that. Like, I definitely felt like they were like destined for each other. So now the 5 stars. I wish I had a superpower to erase this book from my memory as many times as I want so I could endlessly experience it time and time again. That is such a sweet review. Such a sweet romance. Loved every second of it. So like, it looks like the 5-star reviews are because they did buy into the romance and the chemistry. I definitely recommend that you try it if you like second chance romance type of a story. That is a wrap on my July wrap up. This was a fun but much more time consuming way to do my wrap ups. I hope that you enjoyed this like different twist on doing my wrap up. Again, if you loved or hated any of these books, please don't take it personally if we felt differently. I appreciate you so much for watching. If you liked this video and you haven't hit subscribe, please consider hitting that subscribe button and sticking around. I truly hope that your August books are amazing, and I will see you guys in the next video.